Pastor, it's time to grow your church. I'm Dr. Ray, and welcome to this week's Hosea International Speaks. If you're joining me for the first time, you may want to go back and view maybe episode number 1, which launches us into taking your city. We want to get into today what some might call the nuts and bolts of establishing or developing a governing church or ecclesia. There are 3 simple stages in the development of a governing church or governing ecclesia. And the church evolves into its stature. If you recall last week, the question I asked was, does your church have status or does your church have stature in the city and in the heavenlies? And we said that the status is what you have in the community, but stature is the standing that you have in the heavenly realms. That is, you are known in your community as one who controls the heavenly realms, or the comfort of just being in the community doing your duty, but having no effect. Now, note now, stature does not happen overnight. The church grows into her spiritual position through the dealings of Yahweh over the life of the church. Another thought you might want to take into consideration is Yahweh is accelerating the church's yieldedness to his calling. In other words, Pastor, if you haven't been there, Yahweh might be visiting you real soon in order to get your church up to par. Now, the first stage into developing into a governing church is growing from the pioneering stage. Now, you may not, Pastor, you may not be at that pioneering stage. You might be somewhere down the line, but you might want to take some of the thoughts and actions and strategies that are mentioned here, which are very few. But again, if you want to look at the all of it, you might want to go and order the books that I will tell you at the end of this lesson. The local church grows from its pioneering stage, gaining a strong conviction of Yahweh's call and purpose for its inception. In other words, what did he call you to do? Now, he might be calling you to do something else. He might be saying it's time for you to break out of the 4 walls and go into your community. The church understands its mandate in the city, and its people volunteer freely to fulfill Yahweh's purpose and destiny for their life. In other words, if Yahweh is calling you, look up what the mandate is for your city. The church embraces its missions, and the kingdom lifestyle of its members enhance the corporation destiny of the church. The local church is healthy as it connects well in covenant relationship and is committed to the work of the ministry. There's both a strong, healthy church as well as strong church growth. In other words, it's time for the nuts and bolts to be used in the church. Now, that's for a developing church. The second stage is the local church grows into a resource center. In other words, that is, the church is ready to resource its locale. In other words, everything, as well as the region, not just the city. Now you're trying to go beyond the walls or beyond the borders of your city, maybe into your region or your county. Well, it's time that you need to do that. In other words, let's get going within our cities and then in our region. The church is not struggling to maintain itself, and it's not fighting for existence. That's what you got to be looking forward to. If you're struggling to maintain, then you're going to have to look and find out what it is that's holding the church back. Why are you struggling? Is it your message? Is it the area? Maybe you have to get the intercessors praying once again and getting rid of the influences that's holding you back. Let me give you a brief story about Lester Sumrall, who is on his way to one of the Denmark countries. And the area that he was going to was being bombarded by demonic influences. And the pastors begin to pray and to fast. And for 2 weeks, they did that. And what happened was, after 2 weeks, they felt a release, a break in the area. And they began to celebrate and be jubilant and began to thank the Lord. Then a prophetic word came to them, and it says, no, Lester Sumrall came into the city this morning. Does your city have that kind of influence? Does your church have that kind of influence in the city? Pastor, do you have that kind of influence in the city? Well, it's time to maybe fast and pray and find out what the Lord is saying to you. Your church is past the survival stage right now if you're doing well. And it's now on its way to playing a major role in blessing the community. Your church needs to become now a resource center to provide the resources Yahweh has built into her. The life within the church is injecting a life into the community as well as into other churches. This stage takes a longer time to develop. So we need to begin to do that, because other churches in the region may take a longer time also to trust governing churches. So you need to know where to begin in establishing, relationship with other pastors. We can help the situation by being gracious to lend our help and our resources. That's what you need to do. Some other church might be looking to help. Find out what resources you can give out. And the third stage is the local church grows, listen to this one, into an apostolic church. The local church now becomes an apostolic church when the senior pastor is reproducing his life, ministry, and truth into the life of other ministers and churches in the region. In other words, you're not keeping it to yourself, but you're spreading it out. The senior pastor is given the freedom to provide help to other pastors in the city or region or even the country. This way, he helps lay accurate foundation he has laid in his own church and gives to other. Understand, we are not in competition with other churches to get as many people into our church. We are to get as many people into the kingdom. And we have to work together with other local bodies going beyond religious boundaries. Now, our conscience of the position we carry in Christ is one that we are regents of heaven. The pastor down the street is a regent of heaven. The pastor across town is a regent of heaven. That is, we are representatives of heaven, and that we carry heaven's authority. That is, and the fame that we have in our city is not one of popularity, but one that an alarm goes out into the heavenlies that there is no longer business as usual for the devils in town when it comes to the realm of the spirit. Well, if you enjoyed this week's episode, you might want to check out one of the other ones that led up to the teaching of today. And if you like this session, go ahead and hit the like button, probably right about there. And if you haven't yet subscribed, hit that button now too. And if you wish to contact the ministry, you can write at hoseainternational@yahoo.com or hoseaintspeaks@gmail.com. You can give by scanning one of the QR codes on your screen right now. I'm Dr. Ray, and I'll see you next week on Hosea International Speaks.